Hello friend, and welcome to Picast 2.5. And we start with some nudes again. Yeah, the Paramount Plus on First Contact Day, a thing, revealed that Patrick Stewart's Star Trek The Next Generation co-stars LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Jonathan Frakes, Gates McFadden, Marina Sirtis and Brent Spiner will star alongside Stewart in Season 3 of the service's hit original series Star Trek Picard. Wow. So not much hope of them showing up in this season then, as we'd hoped. Except maybe right at the end possibly, but it'll feel like a massive anticlimax if they do. It makes Season 2 therefore feel even more like padding.
Yes, it does.
And are they just going to boot out all the current characters? I mean, that's a lot of characters to service otherwise, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know.
Seems an odd thing to announce partway through a season, to say the least.
Makes me wonder if this hasn't been doing so well.
And they wanted to give it a shot in the arm.
Yeah,
that was my suspicion too, but there we go.
Yes, because this episode isn't good, is it?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Sorry.
Neither was The Watcher, which we covered last time, really. Fireman, the punk. He's actually an El-Orian who has also been living on Earth, but many wants more people to enjoy punk. His reaction is that time sickness thing. Pretty sure he puts his hand on his neck, I'm afraid. But yeah nice thinking. Martins, personally, I think that they could have modernised it a bit by making him have it play from his phone or something. Yeah. Using a ghetto blaster. That's a bit of an anomaly, isn't it? And Jeffrey Hyman, I'm sure Annika had plenty of opportunities to learn how to drive an automobile from one of the holodeck programs created by Tom 20th Century Paris. Or maybe she remembered from that time the Herodian made them reenact World War II in the holodeck. Yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? So, people thinking around the problems here, but ultimately problems created by the show writers. And more of that in tonight's episode, Fly Me to the Moon.
Like others in my profession, I have a singular purpose. I've devoted my entire being to protecting one individual. A single string in a grand tapestry to which I'm not privy.
There is a divergence coming, something that alters the future I'm from. It's possible either you or the person you are protecting is of great importance to that future.
Interesting. Because that person, Jean-Luc Picard, is apparently your ancestor.
So you have an alarm going off, and there's somebody in a spacesuit. We don't know who they are at this stage. Oh no, there's going to be a Russian satellite collision. And then you're in Laris's apartment, but she doesn't know the name Laris.
No, this is actually Tallinn. I'm sure it's somewhere in Wales, but there we go.
Yes, isn't it a railway?
That's a Teleflin, I think, but yes. Yeah, what do we think of her accent? Right, because, I mean, obviously we're used to her speaking with the Irish accent, which I suspect is her natural one. The American accent, not so good, I think. But United States seem to be able to tell us whether they think it's a good effort or not, but Yeah.
So the astronaut has seemingly cocked up, but it's a simulator. Turns out she's Renee Picard. And when Picard did that speech, right in episode 1, where he talked all about his famous ancestors, he didn't know that she was one of them.
Yeah, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yes, very. And that she was on the Europa mission, and apparently something really important is going to happen because she finds a rock or something. It sounded a bit 2001, or is it 20? You know what I mean? Yeah? So, but... Oh, somebody like 500 years ago sailed a ship. I remember that person. But somebody did something absolutely fucking amazing in space. Who? Yeah, right.
The only way that's going to make any sense is if at some point we discover that originally she hadn't. And that's part of the divergence. Then that would make some sense. He wouldn't have known because that didn't happen in the timeline that he's used to. But yeah.
Yeah. And then the Borg Queen is listening to various voices and then mimicking them and uses them to get past the security system, Which I just think it's a bit of a, for this far into the future, is it not a bit of a shit security system? I mean, your phone these days, you put in the wrong code 3 times, you have to take it to a fucking shop and show your passport before they give it back to you. Whereas, this is like, I'm going to try one voice, I'll try a second voice, I'm going to try 52, and then eventually one of them will let me in. It's like, what shit security that she has so many goes.
Well, I mean, this was a thing back in Next Generation, wasn't it? With Data being able to do voices and therefore take over the Enterprise. That happened at least a couple of times. I thought they'd learnt their lesson by now, but these are the same people who think an auto-destruct code should be 000.
Oh,
So
don't.
what are you going to do?
Yeah. No, I know. So she gets the police to turn up to Chateau Picard.
Gendarme. Yes. Lucky it wasn't that guy from Hello Hello, really, isn't it?
Good morning. Good morning. I have bad news. This piece of pooper has been pissed on the wheels of the town square.
I was pissing by.
Raffi and Seven, they've been after... No, is it this one or the last one with the shit car chase? It was last one with the shit car chase, yeah. So they stop the bus. Isn't that a phrase?
Stop the bus. Want to get on.
And Rios has sort of been prepping, as it were, because there's like an EMP thing, and Rios is like, oh, something's going to kick off, and so then he has a big fight and takes down the guard who wanted him to shut up, and then Raffi and Seven turn up and free all the passengers. So yeah, that wasn't interfering in the timeline at all.
All the people who are going to be kicked over the border are now back in the States again, so yeah, that might mess things up a bit. All those butterflies,
Yeah. There's someone who Raffi thinks is Elnor, and then Seven's like, no, I've got your back and you've got mine.
Yeah, well, he does appear as Elnor initially, doesn't he? But
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's supposed to be in her mind or something. But yeah.
I don't know. And then Renee Picard is like nervous, which she would be if you're about to go on to some kind of major mission. And the therapist is basically trying to talk her out of actually going on the mission, and the therapist is Q.
Yes.
Meanwhile, this bit got me even more annoyed. Brent fucking Spiner.
Adam Soong, because we needed another Soong. There weren't enough Soongs in Star Trek. Why is it that every generation Soong looks exactly like Brent Spiner? That's not the way things work, is it?
No.
My dad looks a bit like me, but not exactly like me, and his dad didn't look exactly like him. How is it that, every generation of Soong looks like Brent Spiner? It's madness.
Oh, maybe they're all fucking
Well, I mean,
clones.
it's because they just want to reuse the actor. Which...
But it's just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Can we go home soon? Can you give up soon? Fuck off soon. Just...
And of course, with this great announcement, apparently we're going to get Data again somehow, aren't we? Which I thought at the end of the last season we'd said our fond goodbyes again, and it did have some impact.
A little bit.
Yes, but if they bring him back again, it's like, well, why bother with season 1 of bloody... Because that was the whole arc of Picard, wasn't it? Is effectively pulling the plug on his mental life support.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Cunt has a daughter who, of course, is Soji.
Because, of course, I mean, yeah. Obviously the Soji we know was built, so that's not so much of a problem, but quite why her Soong creator knew exactly what the predecessor looked like, I don't know. Corey, anyway.
Is it... Oh, okay, like the catfish. Fine.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Cunt and catfish. And she's got a genetic condition and she can't go out in the sunlight. There is a real genetic condition that means that people can't go out in there. So it's not... The condition isn't made up. But, it could be... It doesn't have to be Cunt's child. This could be a new character's child.
But no, we've got to have blooming Brent Spiner in every series, apparently.
Oh, fucking hell. So Q prints this thing and sends it to him.
Oh, his contact card, which has a phone number on it, which if you're in the United States, you could ring and hear this message.
Hello, you have reached the Q Continuum. We are unable to get to the phone right now because we are busy living in a plane of existence your feeble mortal minds cannot possibly comprehend. Furthermore, it's pointless to leave a message because we, of course, already knew that you would call, and we simply do not care. Have a nice day.
There you go. That was good, wasn't it? I'm glad I didn't call international for that. I found it on YouTube.
And basically he says, I can help. And the reason he's offering this help is because Soong's license to do genetic weird shit has been revoked.
Which apparently all this, I can help your daughter stuff is a direct lift from Star Trek Into Darkness. Not that we'd know because we've never seen that film. But yes, lots of people complaining about that as well.
Oh,
and of course Kurtzman was behind that as he is behind this. So it does rather suggest that he's very short on ideas, doesn't it? Blimey.
And anyway, they did that with, oh God, which one was it? One of the ones with Iron Man in. And it was the Vice President and his...
Oh yes, so it was a much more minor character. But yes, the Vice President was colluding, wasn't he, in order to get the genetic cure for his daughter, wasn't he? So yeah, it's a thing now apparently.
Yeah, but
it's bad when it's the same writer doing it twice, though, isn't it?
And even worse when they do it with fucking Brent Spiner. So I'm afraid I am not a happy bunny. There's shit that doesn't make sense, and Brent Spiner.
All right, am I taking over now?
Yeah, sorry, I gave up.
So Officer Crabtree turns up at we're not. It's not.
La Serenissima.
It's not La Serena, is it? But anyway, he turns up and is lured in by the Queen, who tentacles him, which is all very horror movie. Soong meets with Q and makes a reference to his days being numbered and gives him a treatment for Corey. Picard persuades Tallinn that she needs to protect Renee from Q. Actually, Renee was the character in Lower as well, wasn't he? The Queen wakes Agnes and tells her that she'd rather have her body than the gendarmes, promising that Agnes won't be alone for once. But Agnes fires a shotgun she found in the chateau, which was conveniently left on the wall, loaded, and still worked after all these years.
That just makes me think of Hot Fuzz and the Winchester.
Yes, that's it, yeah.
No, it's not Hot Fuzz, is it? It's
No,
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. It's not real, it's just a replica. Bang! Yeah. The treatment for Corey works initially, but it's only temporary. And Soong later meets with Q, who claims he has what she needs in return for getting rid of Picard. Quite why he needs help with that, I do not know, but there we are. Agnes, covered in gore, beams Rio and co aboard, explains what's happened. And she's apparently saved Officer Crabtree, although his spleen is in a box. Spleen in a box. Spleen in a cardboard box.
I think we've had Living in a Box.
We have had Living in a Box, sadly, yes. Picard tells the team... we've also had the Hello Hello feed as well, so we can't go down that route either. No. Picard tells the team that his aunt backing out of the test flight might be the divergence. Problem is, she's at some fancy do that has got the most crazy bonkers security. This is set, 2 years after us?
Yeah.
And this one has cameras and sensors and stuff that can pick up anybody who isn't expected, apparently. Right. And that's going to prevent them beaming in en masse, but not prevent Agnes beaming in on her own or something, which seemed a bit weird. Anyway, the idea is that she goes in and gets their identities on the system. At the party, the band is playing Fly Me to the Moon, so that's our episode title, for no great reason, to be honest.
Well, no, it's because that's what...
is Europa a moon? Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I suppose
and that's what Renee's supposed to be going to, isn't it?
Yes, Europa, yeah. But not
yes,
the moon. But,
No, that's true. So it should be Fly Me to a Moon.
A moon, yes. Which, anyway, let's not worry about that. of all this episode's problems,
that's
very
not one
low
of them.
down the list, isn't it?
Have we ever done Vic Fontaine's Fly Me to the Moon?
No, we could do that, couldn't we? Although we have done some Vic Fontaine, but I'm not sure we've done that one. Agnes is spotted by security and led away to the surveillance room rather than to a cell, which you'd expect. And this is all part of the plan, apparently. She gets a flashback of killing the Queen, who injects herself into the Doctor somehow. There's a nice effect, that eerie green glow. And that's our episode. So not a lot happens again, and a lot of it involves Brent Spiner. Much
and a lot
to
of
our
it doesn't
joy.
make any sense.
A lot of it doesn't stand up to close scrutiny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Third episode of Padding in a row.
Yep.
That's appalling. I mean, there were no spaceships to speak of other than just the crashed one. That just feels really, sometimes the first season of Picard felt not very Star Trek, but at least they were going to different planets and things. This is just set in 2 years in the future for the past couple of episodes. I mean, Dolesville. If you're doing sort of parallel universe stuff, it's an episode or maybe 2 at a push.
2 are at an absolute
but,
push.
I mean, they're still there at the end of this episode.
And
Plus,
you don't...
this follows on the back of them being in the Dark Universe. So.
Yeah, and also it's just like, oh no, my aunt might not go to the moon, so now I have to go to a party. What the actual fuck?
I know. They couldn't catch her after the party.
Don't. Oh, bloody hell. Just... And Q is like, oh, I'm poorly, so that's how I'm going to get at Picard. What? Just...
Yeah. They really are going to have to really improve things for the second half of the season to drag this up off its bootstraps, aren't they?
They really are. But I think maybe they know it's a dud already, and that's why they made that announcement. Yeah. Because, I mean, it might be one of those ones where they do the last 3 all together, in which case 2 of the 3 will be okay, and the third will have far too much plot in it, most of it won't make sense, and oh, look, Elnor's back. I'm not holding out masses of hope, you may have noticed.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say.
Did anybody else actually like this?
Well, let's find out. We have heard...
from Doreen!
Hello, it's me, Doreen. Finally back making feedback. I have been making my mind up about the newest Picard series. It's been quite difficult to get a handle on it. And I do agree that they're putting in a lot of just bleak stuff just for the sake of it, not really part of any storyline. There have been some brighter moments. And also, I think just either last night or this morning, I have finally figured out what's been annoying me about Picard. They haven't been happy enough, obviously, to take the legendary, in his own lifetime, Jean-Luc Picard that was in Next Generation. The commanding, everyman type captain, middle management. But they've decided that they need to make him a legendary character. They need to build up his bloodline. They need to have all these figures in his past with the name Picard to make him better for some reason. Maybe. But Jean-Luc Picard from Next Generation was fine by me precisely because we didn't know any better. And he could have just made his own way in the world, that he hadn't relied on his name, that he was a self-made man. I'm not talking about Patrick Stewart, I'm talking about the actual character, Jean-Luc Picard. Anyway, it's been quite good, it's been quite interesting. Certainly not a waste of my time. And I have enjoyed all the Borgcasts and the feedback. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. That's a good point. He wasn't from some kind of really significant lineage in the TV series.
No, not really. There was a Picard that had been at the Battle of Trafalgar, but then there were a lot of people at the Battle of Trafalgar, so, you know. Yeah. So this extra relative, is a bit of a mystery.
And all the ones he named in the first episode as well. It's just, you know, he's a legendary captain. That's not the same as a legendary character
person.
And it's
from a long line of legendary people.
No, I don't like that.
But anyway, she was relatively more positive and making her mind up.
But soon you will find that there comes a time for making your mind up.
Yeah, well, there's a tune. Flipping heck. Thanks, Doreen. You can also find Doreen on BBC Clowns, or BBC Sounds, I should say. Because she was on, let's get the details right here, BBC Radio 4, 11:30 on, I think, was it Tuesday morning, on a programme called Caretakers. So, worth checking out. Fame. We've also, to drag another name out that hasn't sent feedback for a while, heard from Sampo, who I think is sending feedback for the first half of Picard Season 2. So, stand by bets.
Hi there, Sampo here, flying solo, and I guess Picard's about halfway through season 1, so I just thought, well, I'll record some thoughts and send them to you because of the Buck Rogers drought, I'm actually almost missing giving feedback on stuff. So yeah, first half of season 1, and the first episode, I really liked it. I mean, I had no enthusiasm at all for Picard season 2, because after season 1, I assumed we just follow the crew on the Sirena doing whatever. But actually, everyone being in the Federation, seeing all those lovely spaceships that were almost an apology for the dreadful fleet at the end of season 1. And I mean, everything felt great. I really liked first episode. Okay, second episode, Evil Federation, we've seen it before, but I thought it was done well, and it was like, I'd say it was still fun, although I had a creeping suspicion that things weren't going in a direction I enjoyed. And yeah, I mean, ever since they've come to our time, it's just almost nothing happens that I care about. I mean, it's not bad per se exactly. I mean, there are things that I like. I mean, stuff with the Borg Queen is mostly interesting and nice, and I like the name's completely blanking out on me, but the Spanish guy, I mean, him in the hospital, that was fun and all that. But I mean, this last episode, I mean, I couldn't care at all about Soong, even though they're desperately trying to tie him into the eugenics wars. And is it in Patrick Stewart's contract that they have to do one heist per season or something? Because that seems where it's going. And I mean, Q, I've really enjoyed everything we've seen of Q. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Q on average, but in this episode, in this series, I've really liked everything he's done, but there's been too little, really. I mean, in this episode, we saw more of him than before, but it was all with Brent Spiner, and that's a pairing that I really don't care about. And okay, Picard's ancestor going to Mars is the divergence thing. I mean, I'll still watch it. I mean, it mostly entertains me, but I'm just bored, which is pretty sad about that, because after the first episode, I was fully on board. But yeah, why did they make that lovely model of the Stargazer if we only saw it in the first episode, and I assume in the last episode as well? I know it's not all about spaceships, but yeah, not very enthusiastic, as you can see, but I'll still watch it, and I'm enjoying listening to your podcast about it. So yeah, let's see. I mean, there's always hope that they'll turn it around on the second half of the season. I mean, now that they know about the Picard astronaut, maybe there's hope that there'll be some sort of focus for the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean, maybe the cadence is in my voice tells that I'm not too optimistic. But let's see. After, I might record my thoughts again when the season ends. Still enjoying listening to you, so keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
Sneaking suspicion creeping up inside of me. Sneaking suspicion just won't let me be.
He had a sneaking suspicion that it wasn't going to be to his liking, and he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of more upbeat at the end of last season with the idea of them going out and having adventures on the ship whose name I keep forgetting because we've not seen it since, well, yeah, technically it's in the story, but it's not in space. And it's not technically that ship either, is it? So, but yes, it has been the last 3 episodes, particularly a disappointment. But yeah, I'd forgotten about the whole Soong being an enterprise business with the prefiguring the Khan stuff for the genetics and yeah. Again, didn't need it.
No.
Boring.
Yes.
But good to hear from you, Soong. We'll be interested to see what you think of how the season pans out.
And we've heard from Lee, who writes, stupid, Picard episode 5.
Yeah, and those of you who listen to the Black Dog will all already have a good idea that he's not to be impressed with this. Let him rip.
Hi chaps, it's Lee. This is the 4th time I've tried to do this because I have so many notes. I tried to watch this episode once, I laughed my arse off at how stupid it was, and then I took notes watching it a second time, and I've tried to write all the notes down and get it into this feedback, and every time I've failed. I've gone well over the 5 minutes. But let's try it again. So, in order, we have who the fuck leaves a Borg Queen alone on a voice-controlled ship with no safeguards? That's question 1. 2. Don't fuck with the timeline. That's been the prime directive all the way through this whole series. Don't leave badges, guns, anything. So, we rescue Rios and then immediately release 30 people on a bus back to the US of A. People who were previously getting deported. Secondly, the Queen also wants to keep the timeline in place so she can get back to her time. Well, what does she do? She phones up a French cop, calls him in from his patrol, which he would have been doing something else, and then throttles him. But not only throttles him, once she gets killed by Jurati then basically takes him, repairs his injuries, which is basically only being throttled, and then leaves his spleen in a box. Yes, that's great. So, not only has he been off of duty, not only has he gone to somewhere he should never have gone, but now he's medically completely different to how he was supposed to be. But hey, butterfly effects, we can't leave a badge lying about. No, we've just released people into the wild who shouldn't be there, and we've taken cops from patrol routes they should have been doing, and all sorts, whatever. We also had, in episode 1, we had Picard talking about his great ancestor, Rene Picard, who was an astronaut. We get to find out in this episode that Laris the Watcher has been around watching after Rene Picard, and then explains to Picard who she is. Because apparently Picard doesn't know, even though, and now get this is brilliant because I wrote it down, she was a Grand Master at chess at age 11, she sailed the world in a boat she built at the age of 12, she left university with a PhD at the age of 16, and joined NASA as the best pilot they ever had to go on a mission to Europa to collect signs of life, which starts off a glorious age of space exploration. Not Zephyr Cochrane, not First Contact, none of that. No. It's because the greatest person in the whole wide world with all these kind of wonderful traits and done all these wonderful things flew to Europa. But it's okay. She's got all sorts of mental health issues, because that's our issue of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, mental health issues today. And she is talking to the official NASA psychiatrist. I'm sorry, if she has depression, anxiety, nervousness, self-doubt, all these things, days before the mission to Europa, can I ask why she's still on the mission? Nah, don't know, don't matter, don't care, who cares, no one cares. So, we've also got the whole Brent Spiner. He's back as Dr. Noon Soong. Way! Well, actually, no, I'm sick of Noon Soong. I don't want to ever see him ever again in anything ever again, because I tell you what, there's more of those characters in Star Trek than the fucking Mitchells in EastEnders. They're everywhere. Look under a rock. Oh, there's a Noon Soong. There you go. But the bit that got me was there's a reference to the fact that Soji 0.5 has got blood poisoning or some kind of thing that turns her blood into horribleness. And then I suddenly thought, okay, that sounds familiar, especially in conjunction with Noon and Soong. And I can't put my finger on it until all of a sudden he turns around, she asks him, where you going? And he goes, into darkness. And then it clicked. Noel Clarke's character at the beginning of Star Trek Into Darkness, his son, or his child rather, had blood poisoning that couldn't allow him to go out into the daylight, and it was cured by Khan's blood. Yay, the magic blood from Into Darkness. Way, we're going to self-reference that. Fan-fucking-tastic. Oh, no. And on top of that, we're going to have an Ocean's 11 type party heist thing. We've got everyone's storming in there, but no, we can't have everyone storm in there. We've got to have Jurati go in there because she knows antique coding. Now, forget the fact that we've got 24th century technology. We've got a Watcher who's got Gary 7 levels of alien technology. Apparently, we can't hack a few cameras. That's out of the realms of possibility for our new crew. Yay! That's the fastest I've been able to go through that. This is genuinely, utterly fucking mind-bogglingly stupid. I think Picard has finally hit that point where I've just gone, you know what? They're just throwing shit at the walls. They don't care. Why should I? I'll just sign off here saying, hope you're all well. Sorry for overrunning again. But what a pile of arse this show really is. Until next time, take care. Tatty bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't disagree with too much of that. I think Officer Crabtree got more injured by Alice shooting a shotgun in close proximity to him, because the way shotguns work is it's not like a single bullet that goes in, it's a spread.
Yeah.
So I think his spleen got injured in that process. But
why can she put everything back except the spleen, which she puts in a box? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's just played for laughs, isn't it?
I think it is, basically, yes. But the problem is that so much of the rest of the episode is stupid that, yeah.
And, yeah, I'd forgotten all that shit about she built her own boat and sailed around the world at age 12. I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah, that was a weird scene, wasn't it? Just, regurgitating a load of...
And he should fucking know it all.
Yeah.
If he remembers all his ancestors.
Exactly. Well, you'd think somebody as significant as that had been mentioned before.
Yeah.
At some stage in, however many years Picard's been a character. But no, apparently not. It just,
at the very least...
None of the Renee stuff stands up. And as I say, the only thing I can think is that she's not supposed to be a significant character, and that's the divergence, and would explain why Picard's not particularly up on her. I don't know. It's just, odd.
And, fuck Brent Spiner.
Sick of Soong, yes. I hadn't realised it actually said Into Darkness in the story as well.
Oh, God.
I mean, not only is it bad that he's reused the old plot thing, I assumed by accident. No, on purpose. Referencing a film as bad as that on purpose. Why would you do that? The La Serena will be coming up out of the water next, you'll see.
Oh, yeah.
And what we hadn't mentioned was, of course, Tallinn is a watcher like what Gary Seven was in Simon's Earth, which is an episode of the original series we haven't got to yet.
Okay.
And it's fairly renowned for being an awful, awful episode. It's actually an attempt to do a spin-off series. So they introduce, this weird character who's got these weird powers, and it's all based on Earth. And it's got bagger all to do with Star Trek. The backdoor pilot, but a really badly engineered backdoor pilot.
Oh.
It's like trying to launch, I don't know, EastEnders from an episode of Tomorrow's World or something. It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No sense at all.
No. Big pile of wank.
Let's find out what the Llama God thought.
Llama God's log, Scott date, Figatia, care. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what life is like on Earth, and maybe another Earth, but one that is slightly different. At the end of this week's episode of Picard, I decided that I would go and have a look and see how many episodes were left for the season, because I wanted to know if there was actually any danger of us ever getting anywhere at any point soon. And I discovered that no, we don't. We've got 5 episodes left still. We're only halfway there. Now, I remember something very similar happening during season 1 of Picard. I think it was just so slow. Now, in retrospect, given the more introspective nature, perhaps it might not be what we wanted at the time, especially when you compare it to something like Discovery, but perhaps the slower nature of the first season of Picard more suited the style of story they were telling. However, here, this series, this is a different beast entirely. From the action-packed episode 1, oh boy, I miss those days, they've basically sold this as a high-stakes, high-concept sci-fi action story. And they've got that idea behind the story, but the actual story itself is just not being driven with enough speed or urgency or anything. Now, before I get too negative about this week's episode of Picard, there's one good thing in this episode, and that is I very much appreciated the fact that at the end of the episode we discovered that the Borg Queen has in fact survived and she is inside Jurati. And that's good because I think pretty much everybody worked that out. They credited the audience with a bit of intelligence, so that's something. That's pretty much it. Unfortunately, it just feels like right now we're moving very much from plotted beat to plotted story beat without very much happening or it seeming very impactful. I can't quite put my finger on it. Just take the resolution to Rios being captured by ice. He is freed, and he's freed. There's nothing much is made of it. It just sort of happens, and then it's ignored. We've done that part of the story. We move on. And yeah, his rescue was a bit odd when they used the tricorders to stun people. Fair enough, using the tricorder to take out the bus because that's an EMP. So yeah, electronic equipment being used on electronic equipment. Actually stunning the driver. Well, yeah, they're tricorders from the Dark Universe alternate future things, so they're evil tricorders, so they can stun people. Yeah, there you go. I made it work. We've discovered why we're actually here halfway through the series. Finally, is we're here to meet Renee Picard. Now, Renee Picard herself, I don't have a problem with her introduction. We learned quite some time back, I think it was in Generations, that it was the Picards that first helped colonise the solar system. So here we're seeing it. But also we're suddenly made to actually need to care about her. We've only just met her and we know very, very little about her, at least as a character. She just exists as a plot device. so far. And I think there's a big missed opportunity here that we don't know any more about her yet. And we're halfway through, and all we know is she needs saving. Save the test pilot, save the world. Yeah, that's what we need to do. But who? Why do we care? Yeah, we don't. She's just there. Obviously, she's overlooked this episode in favour of Talon, the not Laris, someone who just looks particularly like Laris. And yeah, it was a nice little nod to Gary 7. But again, it just seems that her existence, unless Laris is explained in the future, and I really, really hope they don't go with the explanation I came up with, which is that the Laris that Picard knows in the good timeline is actually a descendant of this Talon and Elnor. I'm going with that. Can anyone else come up with anything more contrived? The whole idea of the Watchers, the tying together 7 is interesting, but also, I'm pretty sure that this part of the story could have been sidestepped quite quickly. But speaking of missteps, probably the biggest one this episode makes, and I'm pretty sure you'll have been here already, is the introduction of Adam Soong. Yes, he's Adam. He's Adam because he's going to be the first of the Soongs that does really bad stuff. Admittedly, the Soong dynasty has never been particularly subtle when it comes to naming, but he's Brent Spiner. He's Brent fucking Spiner. Now, I liked Data on Watch Next Generation. I really did like him, but we have an actor here who actively didn't want to keep playing the role of Data anymore, so they killed him off. He could have kept playing Data. They could have quickly come up with a solution. His epidermal layer has been rigged to age like humans do, so he fits in better. So easy got away with. No, he just wanted out. So don't keep giving him these roles where he can fucking come back again and just do different people who are almost the same. The amount of inbreeding there must be in the Soong bloodline because everyone looks like bloody Brent Spiner is ridiculous. I mean, and no wonder they all went a bit crazy, maybe. I don't know. So it's very frustrating to see him turn up here. And yeah, we discover that Soji, not Soji Koi, is his daughter who he's trying to save. But we are never going to find out that she's not his daughter. She was probably a clone or something that was grown in a tank, and she will be the first step towards the superhuman program that will produce Khan Noonien Singh. Yeah? Anybody? Anyone else waiting for that one to be coming? So at least there's an explanation given of where that painting of Soji that Data did came from. So there's that there, but it's just bad. And as Joe pointed out, the fact that his name is Soong is not a particularly great look, given that's not a particularly Caucasian name. It's very much a Korean name. And yeah, whilst you could have argued when Brent Spiner played Dr. Noonien Soong in the Next Generation episode Brothers, you could argue that by the 24th century there's been plenty of intermarrying and everything, that someone with a white name could have a very non-white sounding surname. But in 2020s America, I mean, maybe if he'd been adopted by a Korean couple living in America in the 1950s or 60s, yeah, no. It's a very subconscious sort of cultural appropriation here. It is a little bit uncomfortable that someone that white has that name. And whilst we're on the topic of cultural cock-ups, there's also the big question you've got to ask is that have the production team actually ever met a French person? We've already discovered that Je ne regrette rien is an important part of every French person's lifestyle, and obviously the Picard is called René, despite not seeming to be French at all. But the police officer who investigates the disturbance at the Picard mansion is called Leclerc. Yes, it is I, Leclerc. I'm looking forward to someone in the gala next week exclaiming, "The flashing knobs!" So yeah, so I know that we're getting maybe slightly closer to resolving the mystery of Q. It is good to see him and Brent Spiner play off against each other. I did enjoy that aspect at least, and there was the mystery of what's up with Q and why does he need something that a geneticist can cure, because, you know, he isn't a physical being. But really, we're at the halfway point, and so far it just feels like we've just had a lot of beginnings. We keep getting introduced to more and more concepts without anything being resolved, and I think after this week we need to not be introduced to any more characters, story concepts. We need to start having resolutions. As ever, I'm looking forward to finding out what everyone else made of these episodes. I hope everyone is keeping well, and those that have been struck down with the inevitable plague are recovering or not suffering too badly. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Yeah, nothing happening. Nothing happening. And, you know, it's not boring because there's action, but it's not action that actually leads to anything.
No.
Like you said, you know.
We need resolutions.
Rios is rescued and nothing's made of it.
He's just rescued.
So it was just a distraction being him being on the bus.
Yeah.
Just something
to have a shit car chase.
Yeah, for the characters to do.
Because they just don't know what they're doing. I'm just wondering whether, and it might be the case, they knew what they wanted to do with season 1. Given that it was always going to be 3 seasons, they knew what they wanted to do with the last, and they hadn't got a pissing clue what to do with the middle one. And I think they're flying by the seat of their pants. I think they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. And that whole thing about, you know, Picard's being amongst those who colonised the universe or whatever, the key thing was amongst.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, the Picard's single-handedly discovered life on a planet.
It's all too Skywalker, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Picard's suddenly become Skywalker, which is bizarre. And doesn't then make any sense of how he'd been sidelined in the beginning of season 1. I mean, he came from such a, you know, auspicious line of people. It's just, madness. And yeah, I definitely don't want to be thinking about how Talon looks like
Elnor and Laris.
And again, they wouldn't look exactly the same then, other than the ears, would they? No, don't. Let's not go there.
It's just ridiculous and rubbish. What did Purry make of this?
Hello, Orcs. Purry here to talk about Fly Me to the Moon, or Fly Me to Dunoon, as we said out my way. It's an old Glasgow joke. Anyway, yeah, this episode, I think I'm kind of with you in. I'm not quite sure we're talking padding here, although there's definitely a sense of it. I'd almost say at the moment I'm thinking that Picard is meant to be like a however many episodes, what was it, 10 episode long? Can't remember, but that episode long story. But it's being written by people who are much more used to writing episodic television. And as a result, we do kind of get these little subplots that don't seem to go anywhere. Now, I am, of course, referring to Raffi and Seven rescuing Rios. Now, while I did appreciate the reference to the Sanctuary Districts, I appreciated them showing the general problems with the immigration system in America. I can't speak from a high ground, sadly, in Britain, but hey-ho. But ultimately, that plot, I was expecting it to go somewhere. I was expecting there to be something significant about where those immigrants were being taken beyond a sanctuary district, or even to make something out of the sanctuary district. But instead, it's just kind of effectively, we spent the whole sum total of Raffi, Rios, and Seven going into LA was basically to run around for a while, say everything looks bad, get captured by the police, and then get rescued, and only to come back. So it was a plot thread that kind of hasn't really gone anywhere, and you could excise it at the moment, and I could be proven wrong later, but at the moment you could excise that plot entirely, and aside from a few comedy beats, it would make very little difference to the running of the story. Even if you have like signs of Raffi's grief, it's unnecessary. We do have an ongoing plot of Jurati and Seven. It's by far the most consistent plot, and I really like how it's going. I actually like the way they're almost taking it down an abusive relationship route. Although, I mean, does Jurati have that loneliness? I got a hint of a relationship between her and Rios at the start of the series, but maybe that isn't, or maybe the Borg Queen has once again underestimated her. But I did like the kind of fake out with the French policeman, and you briefly wondered who Jurati had shot. We have Picard finally meeting this Watcher, and it's very much a Gary Seven situation from Assignment Earth, so that sort of makes sense. And she's watching over a different. And why I was pleased it wasn't Jean-Luc Picard himself as a significant figure. It was in fact Renée Picard, the English-sounding French woman who's part of the Europa mission, and that was our mysterious blonde. Now, the power down Q is interesting. I would be interested to know why his powers aren't working. I think that's hopefully going to be a plot point and not just another mystery. And I like the fact that without his powers working brilliantly, he's having to try some more conventional skullduggery. Although why he's being quite so evil is something which I'm curious about. Again, I'm hoping it is a plot point and not just someone who mistook who Q was and kind of, if someone just took the idea of Q and maybe watched like half an episode and wrote Q that way rather than studying the character. I'm hoping it's, again, of plot significance. It's a phrase I'm saying a lot at the moment. I'm hoping this is of plot significance. And of course we get another plot thread started with the not Data, I don't know which particular Noonien Soong he is, and his daughter, him and his daughter, and things to do with genetics. It ties in nicely with one of the Soong descendants being into augments and Enterprise. But I've got to admit it, part of me was sitting there going, oh, for God's sake, not another plot thread. Because they do seem to have a lot of irons in the fire, and the problem with having this many is none of them seem to be progressing. We seem to be creeping very slowly. It's almost like when you've got like 10 things downloading on your computer, and it's slowing down because you're trying to download 10 things at once, but then one of them like finishes and everything speeds up slightly. That's kind of every time a plot thread finishes, and so this was the equivalent of, I thought, right, a plot thread finished, we'll be able to focus, move things on, and then another one started. It's, oh no, it's the time's just jumped up to 15 days or something. So yeah, again, the episode's not bad. I'm enjoying the episodes, but I am really curious about what the whole's going to be, and at the moment it seems to lack focus, I think is probably the best thing I'd be saying. So that's kind of my review. But All that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to the podcast, and I'll hopefully be back in the next episode. But until then, bye for now.
Bye. Yes, that's a very good analogy. That when you're downloading multiple things, and it starts speeding up as they complete. So hopefully that's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could be that, this is just the point in the season where nothing really makes sense and everything will. What is it he says?
Coalesce. Yeah.
It is there is a plot point to it. It will make sense. It could all make sense. There could also be repercussions for the idiocy, potentially, of, somebody somewhere going, you fucking idiot, you released all those people. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. They may make a thing of it.
In theory...
Why do we hold out not much hope of that, I wonder?
No, I mean, I think what I'm saying is theoretically it could be redeemed. But at the moment, I'm just really worried that Purry's right, and it's just, you could excise whole chunks of plot.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah. I have a feeling.
And I really hope that Q isn't being written as just by somebody who's watched like half an episode.
Or Encounter at Farpoint, where he was a bit sort of a two-dimensional villain in that, and it was only sort of later on that he developed a bit more as somebody who had an interest in Picard in particular and humanity generally.
Yeah,
that was the whole point of trying to find out more about Picard, but also to expand Picard's understanding as well. So they ended up with a fascinating relationship, but he didn't start that way, and it does kind of feel like he's still in the Encounter at Farpoint stage here. But anyway, there was more than a hint of Rios and Jurati being a couple in the first episode. Yeah. But so I don't know where all that loneliness is coming out. And she had that relationship before as well. I mean, it's true to say our relationships don't seem to go well.
Yeah.
It's not the same as being lonely, though, is it? So,
no.
By definition, you're not if you're with some, I don't know. Yeah, not thought through, I think, is probably where we're at on this.
I think yes. Yes.
We remain to find out whether it all will come together or not.
Do we have a title for the next episode? Is it It's All Okay, I'll Explain It All?
It's called 2 for 1. So it's like a bargain at Aldi's or something.
Oh, God, bog off.
Better not be a reference to Soong. I don't want any more Soong.
Oh, for fuck's sake, no.
Wow. We'll be recording a little earlier next week because of the liturgical calendar. So we're recording on Holy Wednesday, the 13th. So if you could get your feedback in by then, if you've got some, it would be great to hear from you. And thank you to everybody who's fed back this week.
Yes, thank you.
And yes, we'll catch you next time. Cheery bye.
Bye bye.
I jumped up this morning, right out of a dream. The front door was...
The artwork for this podcast was created by Andy Palastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or Borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
I got a sneaking suspicion someone's putting something over on me. Sneaking suspicion creeping up inside of me. Sneaking suspicion just won't let me be.
Shut it down!